welcome back to the English on Air podcast. I'm Leo.
And I'm Ella. We're really happy you're here with us today.
Before we start, I want to tell you something embarrassing. Last year, I was in Paris. I've studied French for years, and a waiter asked me a very simple question. Would you like still or sparkling water? In French. And I just stared at him for about 4 seconds. And then I said yes.
Yes, to which one?
He never found out. He just brought both. But here's the thing. In that moment, I knew the words. I knew the answer. I was just afraid to get it wrong.
That feeling, that exact feeling, that is what today's episode is about. Not for French, for English, for the language you are learning right now. Leo used a very natural English expression there. He said he froze. To freeze, F-R-E-E-Z-E. When we say someone froze, we mean they suddenly stopped and couldn't move or speak, like ice. You might also hear people say, my mind went blank. That means all your thoughts disappeared for a moment. My mind went blank.
Yes, both of those happened to me in Paris.
And I'm sure many of you listening know exactly that feeling in English.
So today, we're going to look at why this fear happens, what it's really made of, and 3 things you can do about it, starting today.
And at the end of this episode, I'm going to share a small story about a learner we'll call Dina. It's not a real listener message. It's a simple story based on a feeling many learners know very well, and I think it will stay with you. So listen until the end.
Okay, Ella, let's start here. When someone is afraid to speak English, what is the fear actually about? Because I don't think it's really about English.
No, it's not about English at all. English is just the context. The fear is about being seen, being heard, and being judged. When you speak a language that is not yours, you are exposed in a way that doesn't happen in your first language. You can't hide behind fluency. Every word you choose is visible, and that visibility is frightening. I want to pause on that word exposed. If you are exposed, it means others can see you clearly. There is nothing to hide behind. An exposed wire is dangerous because it has no protection around it. When we feel exposed in a conversation, we feel unprotected, vulnerable. That is a very powerful word to know, vulnerable. It means open to being hurt.
And I think this is where many learners panic, because they don't just think, what if my grammar is wrong? They think, what if I sound foolish? What if this person thinks I'm not smart?
Exactly. The fear becomes bigger than the sentence.
Because in your own language, you can be intelligent and funny and precise, and in a second language,
And you feel like a different person, a smaller person, someone who can't quite reach what they want to say. And the painful truth is that feeling is real. The gap between who you are and what you can express in English is real. You are more interesting than your vocabulary allows right now. That is not a failure. That is just where you are in the journey.
I felt that in French. I am a reasonably articulate person in English. In French, I sound like a very confused child.
Which is exactly how our listeners feel in English sometimes. And that feeling is so disorienting when you're an adult, because adults are not supposed to sound confused. Adults are supposed to know things.
So the fear is partly about identity.
Yes, it's the fear of sounding like less than you are.
That makes sense. But if I'm listening right now, I might be thinking, okay, I understand the fear, but how do I know which part of the fear is stopping me?
Good question. I think it helps to give this fear a shape because it's not one thing, it's 3 things, usually happening at the same time.
Tell me.
The first is the fear of mistakes, the worry that if you say the wrong word or the wrong grammar, you will look stupid. The second is the fear of not being understood, the anxiety that even if you try, the other person will have to ask you to repeat yourself, and that will be embarrassing. And the third, and this is the deepest one, is the fear of being judged as a person, not just for your English, but for your intelligence, your education, your worth.
That third one is heavy. And honestly, I think that is the one people don't always admit. They say, I need more grammar. But maybe the real thought is, I don't want people to see me struggle.
Yes, and it's not rational. By the way, rational means based on clear thinking and reason, not on emotion. When we say a fear is not rational, we mean the danger is not real, but it still feels real, and that matters. When you name these three fears separately, they become a little smaller because you can say to yourself, which fear is this exactly? And often, once you name it, you realize it's smaller than it felt. So, where does this fear begin? Because most people aren't born afraid to speak. Small children make mistakes constantly and they don't care at all.
True. My nephew is 4 years old and his confidence is extraordinary.
Exactly. So, what happens between 4 years old and adulthood?
School?
School, yes. For most people, they learned English in a classroom, with tests, with grades, with a teacher who corrected every mistake. And that environment teaches your brain something very powerful. In English, mistakes have consequences. Mistakes mean you're wrong. Mistakes lower your mark.
And then you leave school and the tests stop, but the feeling stays.
The rule stays. The brain keeps the rule even when the situation has completely changed. In real life, in a conversation, at work, with a friend, mistakes almost never have consequences, but your nervous system doesn't know that yet.
It's still taking the test.
It's still taking the test, yes. There's something else I want to name. When people are afraid to speak English, they often imagine an audience, a group of people listening carefully to every word, waiting for mistakes, ready to judge.
But that audience doesn't exist.
It almost never exists. The person you're speaking to is usually thinking about their own response, their own words. They are not cataloging your grammar errors.
And honestly, when I try to speak French, I am so focused on my own panic that I genuinely cannot tell you what grammatical mistakes I made. I just know that I tried.
Leo used a great natural phrase there, I just know that I tried. In English, we often use just to mean only or simply. I just know that I tried means the only thing I know for sure is that I tried. It makes the sentence feel more honest and human. Try using just in your own conversations this week. And that is exactly what the listener on the other side experiences too. They see the effort. They rarely see the mistakes the way you think they do.
So the audience judging you is mostly in your head.
Mostly, yes.
Okay, let's get practical now, because I think our listeners are nodding along and they want something to actually do.
Yes, 3 things. And I want to be honest, these are not magic solutions. The fear doesn't disappear overnight, but these 3 things make it smaller, reliably.
The first thing is to change your definition of success. Right now, many learners think success means speaking perfectly, no mistakes, the right word every time. And I understand why, because nobody wants to sound wrong. Nobody wants to say something and then see the other person's face change.
Yes, that little face change can feel huge.
But perfection is a trap, because perfection in a second language takes years. If that is your standard, every conversation will feel like a loss, even the good ones.
I want to share something small here. A few years ago, I was in a restaurant in Spain. I was trying to order in Spanish. My Spanish is basic, very basic, and I was so focused on saying the sentence perfectly that I said nothing for about 30 seconds. The waiter was very patient.
I imagine.
And then I thought, my only goal here is to get the food. That's it. Not to impress anyone, just to get the food. So I said 3 words in Spanish, pointed at the menu, and smiled. And I got the food. That was a successful conversation. 3 words, a point, and a smile, because I was understood.
So instead of I must speak perfect English, try I want this person to understand me. That is a much smaller goal, and it is completely achievable. In other words, the goal is not to impress. The goal is to connect.
The English expression for this is lower the stakes. The stakes, S-T-A-K-E-S, means how much is at risk, how important or serious something feels. When you lower the stakes, you make the situation feel less dangerous, less pressure. Lower the stakes. Try saying that to yourself before your next English conversation.
And when the stakes are lower, you speak more naturally, because you are not fighting the fear at the same time.
The second thing is something that might feel uncomfortable to hear.
Tell them.
Studying more is not the answer. If you are afraid to speak English, the instinct is often to study more first, to get better first, and then speak.
And that sounds almost unfair, though, because studying feels safe, speaking feels risky.
Exactly. Studying feels safe because nobody can hear you. But that day, the day when you feel ready, never arrives because readiness doesn't come from studying, it comes from using.
I am proof of this. I spent 6 months studying French vocabulary before my Paris trip. Flashcards, audio lessons, every evening. And when the waiter actually spoke to me, I froze completely. Because knowing words in silence and using words in real time are completely different skills.
Speaking is a physical skill as much as a mental one. Your mouth needs practice, your brain needs to think in real time under pressure. A textbook cannot give you that. So this week, find one moment to use English, not study it. A conversation, a voice message to a friend, ordering a coffee, asking for directions, anything where English is the tool, not the subject.
Even talking to yourself counts. Describe what you are doing while you cook dinner. Tell yourself what happened in your day, in English.
And notice I said practice, not practice. In American English, practice is both the noun and the verb. You do practice, you get practice. In British English, practice is the verb and practice is the noun. Both are correct. It depends on which variety of English you're learning. Your brain doesn't care which one you use. It just knows you spoke.
The third step is different from the first two. It's not about what you do in the moment, it's about what you remember afterwards. So the simple system is this: name the fear, lower the stakes, speak once, and record the win.
Fear has a very good memory. It remembers every time you froze, every time you were misunderstood, every time you used the wrong word. Fear keeps a very detailed record of your bad moments. But fear has a terrible memory for good moments, the conversation that went well, the time someone nodded and said exactly, the time you explained something complicated and they understood perfectly.
So we are going to help your memory. Write the good moments down.
Open the Notes app on your phone right now, or a small notebook, and call it English Wins. Every time you speak English and something goes well, write one sentence. Today, this week, this month. Today, I asked for directions and the person understood me. Today, I had a 5-minute conversation and I didn't freeze once. Today, I made a mistake and the conversation continued anyway.
That last one. Say it again slowly. I made a mistake and the conversation continued anyway. Write that one down even if nothing else happened today, because it proves the fear wrong every single time.
And notice the phrase, keep going. In English, keep going means to continue even when it is difficult. Do not stop. Keep going. It's one of the most useful phrases in the English language and one of the most useful ideas in learning. You are collecting evidence that the fear is lying to you, and over time, that evidence becomes stronger than the fear.
Okay, at the start of this episode, we promised you a small story. Not a real listener message, a story about a learner we'll call Dina. Stay with us for just 2 more minutes.
Imagine Dina. She has watched English videos for 3 years. Her listening is good, her reading is good, she understands a lot, but she almost never speaks.
Not because she doesn't know English.
Exactly, because she's waiting to feel ready. She tells herself, when my English is better, I will start speaking, but somehow it is never better enough.
That sentence feels painfully real. Not yet. Later, when I'm ready.
Continuing with feeling, then one day Dina is at work. A colleague from another office, an English speaker, gets lost in the building. He asks her for directions, and in that moment she has 2 choices: find someone else to help him or speak. Slower, meaningful. She speaks. 6 sentences, very simple.
He thanks her and walks away, and Dina stands in the corridor for a moment and realizes that was it. That was the thing she had been afraid of for 3 years. 6 sentences, and the world did not end.
The world did not end.
That is the thing about this fear. It promises disaster, and when you finally speak, real life is usually much smaller than the fear. 6 sentences, a thank you, and a quiet moment in a corridor that changes something.
And maybe your first moment will be smaller than you imagine, too.
Gently, direct. If you have a moment like that, a moment when the fear got a little smaller, please share it with us in the comments. Your real story might be the one that helps someone else take their first step.
Okay, let's finish with something simple.
Your homework for today, and I mean today, is this. Say one thing in English, out loud, to someone or to yourself.
One true sentence about how you feel, about what you're thinking, about what you had for lunch. It does not matter what it is.
What matters is that you choose to speak instead of staying quiet, just once, today.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
We know this topic is not easy, and we respect you for listening all the way to the end.
Keep speaking. Keep going.
If this podcast helped you feel a little less afraid today, subscribe. We come back every week with new English topics spoken slowly and clearly just for you. We'd love to have you with us.
We'll see you in the next one.
Take care of yourselves.
Your learning doesn't stop here. Click on the next video and continue your English journey with us.